We all hear the benefits of creatine: improve muscle mass, improve endurance, improve energy. But my question to you is, do you need to supplement with creatine? My name is IFBB Pro Hafid James, and in this video, I want to talk about creatine and just challenge your perspective on thinking, is this something you need to supplement with? I don't dislike creatine. I use creatine, but I think there's so many things you want to have in place before using creatine, which will only make you using creatine even better. And then for some people, they might not need it at all. The same problem I have with a lot of the conversations around creatine is the problem I have around most supplements, that people think supplement is a solution to the problem and not something you supplement with the diet. You want to make sure you have your training and nutrition in order. And then there's certain things which we just cannot get through food. Then yes, we would use these supplements. But how people usually think is that, okay, I just take this supplement and I just get the benefits from that. I mean, and it's getting pretty popular now that I even had people that's just new to the gym wondering if they have to take creatine to get results. I personally believe that you should be able to get results without creatine, so that way when you add it to whatever you're doing, you really get the most out of it. Like I said before, we've all seen the posts. They are constantly on social media about the benefits of creatine, and now they're even making sure to target women. Yes, again, it has benefits for women, but also women is a very powerful spending market. They know they have the guys, but them now targeting women to make them they think they need creatine just is going to open up a whole new streaming revenue for them. But what I want to do is actually go through some of the posts I see and what they talk about, and then give my perspective on how I think you should be focusing on other things.
Did you know that creatine is the most studied supplement out there? It's consistently showing benefits for strength and muscle growth and even brain health.
So yeah, I don't disagree. Creatine can help improve with your muscle and building strength. You know what else can do that? Training effectively. Like what I don't hear people talk about is that one, you can get creatine through food, and it also can increase if you're training effectively. Now, one of the biggest problems is how people train. 98% of the people I see ego lift. They don't even know they're ego lifting, but their only parameters of training hard is just how much weight they can lift. And from my experience, two things are going to happen. One, because they only know how to lift heavy, they don't know function of the muscle, they don't know full range of motion, they don't know how to keep constant tension on the muscle, they don't know about their core and posture. Their only parameter is weight. Now that they're taking this thing, there might be a placebo effect, or it might even be working, and they just think, okay, now I can lift heavier, and then heavier, and then heavier. And what ends up eventually happening is they end up hurting themselves, because they can only lift so heavy when you got to think of your ligaments, your stabilizers that can't keep up with this fake load you're lifting. Because once again, just because you're holding a weight doesn't mean you're placing that load on the muscle. So they end up hurting themselves, and then they got to stop, and then they got to wait till they recover, and then they start that same process. And because they never learned about effective training, most of them repeat this cycle over and over again. The amount of times I see the same people in the gym holding their shoulder after a bench press or having knee issues or talking about their injuries, but they're still lifting, just thinking weight and not the other parameters to intensify a workout, shows you why they keep injuring themselves. Or what else would happen is you might, again, some placebo effect, because now you think you're lifting, you're going to end up plateauing, and then you're thinking, well, maybe it's the creatine, maybe it's the creatine type, maybe it's the creatine load, maybe it's my protein, maybe I need another supplement on top. And you're looking at all of these other factors instead of looking at yourself and saying, hey, you know what? My training is garbage. Maybe I need to deconstruct how I train and figure out how I can train more effectively. In my opinion, training effectively, don't just think weight. Look for other ways to intensify your workout, and then you actually get real results. I have clients from 13 to 80 years old, and they've all gotten stronger, and none of them take creatine. Now, if they were to add creatine, because we build a healthy lifestyle, we build effective training, would they get more benefits? Yes, but they're going to get benefits by themselves just because they have an effective training and they're thinking of their intensive training and how they recover from the gym. Those are two most important things when you're thinking of hypertrophy, increasing your strength, or just really improving your recovery. So it's not about just taking a supplement and ignoring how you're training. Make sure you have that training foundation in place first, And then if you have the money to spend on creatine, by all means get it. But just know you can get it through your food. And if you're training effectively over time, your body's natural creatine levels will rise on its own.
Creatine helps your cells produce energy more efficiently so that you can train harder and recover faster.
Taking creatine can help increase the energy in your mitochondria. But my thing is, what if you have an unhealthy mitochondria? You taking creatine is like you getting premium gas for a crap car. And when we're looking at the health of the mitochondria, the health of the cell, we're looking at that outer membrane, which is a very important part. And one of the things that can help is making sure you're getting enough omega-3s, something people don't traditionally get enough of. This could happen because there's just so much inflammation in the diet, or they're not getting in enough anti-inflammatories, eating anti-inflammatory foods, making sure the body's recovering. Or there are some people that even take fish oils, but because of the amount of the EPA and DHA, which really makes the quality of the fish oil, if you don't know how much you need, or sometimes they don't even tell you how much is in the supplement, you could be taking a fish oil, but not getting an effective dose. And when you're thinking of your omega-3s, that's so important for so many other things. When you're thinking of your anti-inflammatories, so many lifestyle conditions, precursors are high inflammation. When you're in the gym, that is eustress, beneficial stress, but it comes with an inflammatory response. Now, inflammation isn't bad once it's controlled. You want that small bit of inflammation because it's part of the healing process, but you want to make sure you have enough anti-inflammatories to make sure the inflammation doesn't stay high. The quicker you can get those anti-inflammatories, that's going to have a direct effect on how your body is able to heal and recover. And that's going to have a direct effect on the results you get. As we stated before, your results are going to come from an intense training and proper recovery. So if you're ignoring your omega-3s, you're ignoring your brain health, you're ignoring your gut health, you're ignoring how your body's able to recover from the gym. So this is one of those things where, yes, you can take creatine, or you can make sure your cells are healthy. So you make sure they can take in the nutrients that you're trying to intake, to make sure you're able to recover from the gym more effectively, to make sure your body's in a better place, which will help you for your short-term gym goals, but it'll also help you with your quality of life as well. So this is just one of those examples I'm going to show you where health meets fitness.
Ladies, if you're over 35, you're already losing muscle mass every single year. Creatine helps you hold on to that muscle while you're in a calorie deficit trying to lose weight.
So again, something else that helps you stop losing muscle after 35 is making sure you're in the gym training effectively. Just by being in the gym and keeping up with that resistance training, which, speaking to women, is something that you've been told to fear all your life growing up. So you're going to become bulky and look like a man. Then all of a sudden, when you get premenopausal, menopausal, now they want you to start resistance training. This will help make sure you're keeping that muscle. Also, just thinking of your hormonal health. And when you're thinking of nutrients, getting in your vitamin D3, especially the older you get, especially if you're not thinking of your health holistically, for decades, the older you get, the less vitamin D you're able to take in. Vitamin D will have a direct effect on your body's ability to produce testosterone. And if you're trying to build muscle, lose weight, just feel better, having a high amount of your natural testosterone is going to be very important. It's also going to be important for your bone health. Bone health is important for everyone. It's important for everyone as they age. But speaking to women, once they reach that premenopausal, menopausal state, you making sure your bone health is in check, because now you don't have that estrogen, which can help with your bone health. You want to make sure you're getting in that vitamin D. And roughly 80% of the population is vitamin D deficient. So vitamin D would have a direct effect again on your gut health, would have a direct effect on your immune system. There's even been enough studies to show how it can help decrease cancer. They're still finding benefits for vitamin D. When you're thinking of so we already talked about bone health, we talked about gut health, we talked about your inflammation. When you're thinking of your brain health, when you're thinking of trying to prevent cardiovascular diseases, your heart health, vitamin D is so, so important. And like I said, about 80% of us are vitamin D deficient. So again, in my mind, why are you worrying about taking creatine when your vitamin D levels aren't where they should be? So once again, showing that correlation, how by focusing on your health, you can get those short-term goals, losing weight, building muscle, but it's also going to help improve your quality of life in the long run. Now, some of the best places you can get your vitamin D would be the sun, but there's a lot of factors that's involved with that. I don't want to get too deep into vitamin D, but if it's something you want me to talk about, please just let me know and we can always do a video on that. But getting in sunlight is important, but you will need to make sure, depending on where you live, how much exposure you are in the sun. Usually you want to get 20 minutes, and if your arms or legs are exposed. So that's why it's important to supplement with vitamin D3, in my opinion, because it's really hard to get the amount you need on a daily basis once you're thinking of all those factors. Some foods would have vitamin D as well, but we need so much of it because it's involved with every cell in our body and it has so many different functions. It's something that's definitely something I would put high on my list way before ever thinking of telling someone they need creatine.
And it's perfect for busy professional women who want to lose stubborn belly fat.
Yeah, it might help you lose weight, but usually that's just a temporary effect. Like whenever you take something new, your body might go in just this new transition period. It's like, oh, it's something new and it might change. But then after a while, what happens? You plateau. You'll see the same thing even with probiotic. There's been enough studies that they had a group of people take probiotics, and in like the first 2, 3 weeks, they lost weight. But what happened after a while? It stopped. Just like if you were to maybe not even change your eating, but you just went in the gym and started moving more, those first few weeks, you might lose weight without you thinking of your food, but then you plateau. Now, the problem happens is because you didn't think of your hormonal health, you're thinking, okay, well, I did 30 minutes of cardio. Maybe I got to bump it up to 45, an hour, 2 hours. Oh, well, I took this supplement. Maybe I got to increase the dosage of the supplement. Maybe it's a type of supplement. Maybe I got to add in more supplements. Maybe I got to add in a fat burner instead of looking at hormonal health, thinking of, with just focusing on losing weight, what's some of the fat storing hormones, insulin, estrogen, cortisol. What are you doing that's creating those hormones to be dominant in your body, or what can you do to minimize those hormones and try and focus on some of your fat burning, muscle building hormones, how to make those higher. So I'm always a big advocate of thinking of your hormonal health, getting those foundations down. The analogy I like to say is that we're swimming against the current. If you were to swim against the current, you might be able to move past it a little bit, but after a while, that current's going to take you over and push you back to the seashore. What you want to do is have a lifestyle where everything's working to push you in the right direction, where you can swim with the current, help you get you where you want to be even faster and make it more sustainable. So if creatine is, again, something you want to add in, if you want, fine. But first, look at your hormonal health. What are you doing as a lifestyle that's making sure you're keeping those fat storing hormones low and those fat burning hormones higher?
When you add creatine, your muscles fill up with water, which means fuller muscles, stronger contractions, and better performance in the gym.
I agree. Creatine can help with these things, but so does potassium. Potassium has a direct effect on making sure the fluid in your body stays balanced, that potassium sodium pump. Uh, Potassium also has a direct effect on how your muscle contracts and relaxes as well, and is also going to have a direct effect on your performance. Like potassium is one of the most important nutrients and electrolytes in the body, in my opinion. Now, if I just talked about potassium and electrolytes, and in your mind you thought, well, I had a banana or I had an electrolyte drink, please just comment, yep, that was me below. So the problem is this is where you have information but not understanding. As I stated, potassium is one of the most important nutrients, electrolytes in the body. We need 4,700 milligrams of potassium a day. If you're looking at that in a banana, you have to eat about 10, 12, 15 bananas, depending on the size. So if your only source of potassium is a banana, you're not getting in enough potassium. And then look at whatever electrolyte drink you're taking. Find the best one on the market. Actually see how much potassium's in there. It's not a lot compared to what you need throughout the day. Now, are these things you can use to balance your diet, to supplement with the diet? Yes, but you should be focusing on your whole foods, your veg, to make sure you're getting the potassium and the electrolytes you need. But most people focus on processed foods. Not only that means you're not getting in enough potassium, but a lot of these processed foods actually deplete your body's potassium. And potassium is not just involved with your contractions or making sure you can perform better. When you're thinking of trying to prevent hypertension, having the proper ratio of potassium to sodium is vital. Now, we should have a 2-to-1 potassium to sodium, but because we don't eat a lot of whole foods and we eat a lot of processed and ultra processed food, that ratio is more like a 10-to-1 sodium to potassium. When you're thinking of how your body handles carbs, when you're thinking about becoming more insulin sensitive, so your body just knows how to work more efficiently, potassium has a direct involvement with these things and so much more. So again, if you're thinking of performance, if you're thinking of that contraction, if you're thinking of not pulling a cramp when you're playing certain sports or going for a run, making sure you have enough potassium is going to be way more important than you wasting money buying creatine. I'm hoping by now you guys start to see why I think health and fitness work synergistically together and they shouldn't be separated into two different things. If you ask me personally, I don't think the average person needs creatine. I think they should focus on having fundamental training, understanding how to train effectively and efficiently, and have a fundamental understanding of food. And you're going to get great results just with that. As if any of you guys see my clients, you've seen them get stronger, lose weight, improve endurance without the need of supplements, without the need of creatine, I should say. So if it's something that you do want and you have the money for it, I would still say focus on that health first, focus on an effective training regime first. And that way you're going to get the most of it because your body knows how to function optimally and you're only increasing what your body is able to do. Don't think you taking a supplement is a solution. Think that it's supposed to supplement your lifestyle. I hope you guys learned something in this video. I really hope this video was useful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, share it with your friend that wants to know, do they need creatine? And I'll see you guys on the next video.